Let's talk about Astros baseball.
In Nashville, there's something new waiting for you at downtown.
Jake Marisnick entered this game in the 7th inning, and by the time it ended, Yankee Stadium belonged to his left arm. This is Astros 72, Jake Marisnick, and we're going back to Thursday night, May 11th, 2017, in the Bronx. The Astros came in at 23-11. So we're trying again. The Astros came in at 23-11. And the Yankees were 21-10. These weren't two clubs feeling around for identity. They already looked like two of the best teams in baseball. By October, they'd be standing across from one another with the AL pennant on the line. Houston won 3 straight. New York had just had a 6-game winning streak snapped. But Yankee Stadium remained a difficult place to establish control. The Astros were beginning a 4-game series, and Dallas Keuchel was returning to the ballpark where he'd ended the Yankees' 2015 season with 6 scoreless innings in the AL wildcard game. This wasn't a must-win game. Nobody's season was going to collapse on May 11th. It was something maybe a little more interesting. It was like a measuring stick game. At what point does a great start stop feeling temporary? When do you look at a team in May and say, no, this is actually who they are? Jacob Sean Marisnick was born March 30th, 1991, Riverside, California. He grew into a 6'4", 220-pound outfielder who could run like a smaller man and throw like somebody attached a pitching machine to his shoulder. He attended Riverside Polytechnic High School, and Toronto took him in the 3rd round of the 2009 draft, 104th overall, and the tools showed up right away. At Class 8 Lansing, 2011, Marisnick hit .320 with 14 homers and earned mid-season and postseason All-Star recognition. By the end of 2012, baseball, and that description followed him for the rest of his career. Toronto moved him to Miami in the enormous trade built around Jose Reyes and Mark Burley. Marisnick reached the majors with the Marlins on July 23, 2013. He began his MLB career over 14 before collecting his first hit. Then he hit his first big league home run on July 31st against the Mets. Exactly 1 year later, Miami traded him again. Houston sent Jared Cosart to the Marlins and received a package that included Marisnick. The Astros were still building, and they could give a talented, unfinished center fielder little room to become something. Marisnick hit .272 in 51 games after the trade. In July 2015, he briefly looked like he might become the complete package. He was batting .379 with speed and elite defense. The offense cooled off, but he stole 24 bases and helped Houston reach the postseason. And by 2016, the shape of his career was clearing up. He might never control the strike zone well enough to hold down an everyday job, but he could change a game without taking 4 plate appearances. He could pinch run, cover huge sections of grass, and replace a weaker defender late in ball games. So, would you rather have a limited player who understands exactly what he is, or a more talented player who never figures out how to help you win? Marisnick had also just returned from the concussion list. On April 23rd, he made a catch against Tampa Bay and crashed into the wall. Houston activated him May 1st, and A.J. Hinch immediately resumed using him as a late-inning defensive weapon. In 2015, StatCast measured his average arm strength on competitive throws at 98.6 miles per hour. That's the best figure amongst major league outfielders. In 2016, he averaged 95.7 and again finished among the leaders. So his arm wasn't just a rumor. Teams had data telling them, don't run on Marisnick. And sometimes they raid anyways. Now for something completely different. In 1960, William Cotharp needed bricks for a new bank in Vernal, Utah. Freight was expensive, so he used parcel post. The bricks were packed into 50-pound parcels and mailed through the post office, eventually amounting to more than 37 tons. Vernal was receiving about 2 tons of mail a day, and postal officials changed the rules so one person couldn't keep mailing a building piece by piece. One of the original bricks now sits in the National Postal Museum. Anyway, back to the Bronx. Josh Reddick supplied the game's first break with one out in the top of the first. He lifted a flare into shallow center. Jacoby Ellsbury charged in, while shortstop Didi Gregorius went back. The ball dropped right between him for a double. StatCast said it was a 4% hit possibility. Sometimes it's better to be lucky to be good, though, right? Jose Altuve grounded out, bringing Carlos Correa to the plate with 2 down. Michael Pineda tried to finish him with a slider, and Correa drove it 397 feet into the right center field seats. 2-0 Houston. And for a while there, it looked like it was going to be a Dallas Keuchel episode, and honestly, it almost was. Keuchel struck out Ellsbury and Gary Sanchez in the first. He worked around an infield hit in the second, induced a double play in the third, and struck out the side in the fourth. The Yankees had young power, especially in Aaron Judge, but Keuchel kept changing the shape and speed of every at-bat. Houston added a run in the fifth. Alex Bregman doubled, but Norichika Aoki's grounder erased him at third. Aoki then stole second, and George Springer singled him home, 3-0. The Yankees answered after a Yuli Gurriel error. Gregorius singled, and Aaron Hicks walked to load the bases. Keuchel struck out Chris Carter, but Ellsbury reached on catcher's interference when his swing clipped Brian McCann's glove. 1 run scored. Keuchel retired Sanchez and escaped. Then the 6th inning. Matt Holliday opened with an 113.6 mile an hour single. Starlin Castro followed with another hard single. And that sent Holliday to third with nobody out. Yankee Stadium was waking up, and Aaron Judge was coming up. All rise. Keuchel struck out Judge, then Chase Headley, then Didi Gregorius. 3 straight strikeouts, and the inning disappeared. Keuchel finished with 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 unearned run, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts. Chris Davinsky handled the 7th and 8th. Marisnick entered in the bottom of the 7th as the defensive replacement in left field. He didn't just wait for a ball to find him either. In the top of the 9th, Marisnick singled to center, then stole second. Houston couldn't bring him home, but he'd inserted himself into the game. Now Ken Giles had to protect a 2-run lead. Gregorius grounded out. Giles walked Hicks, then struck out Brett Gardner looking. 2 outs. Then Ellsbury singled to left, moving Hicks to third. Then he stole second. Suddenly, the tying runs are in scoring position for Sanchez. What do you want your best defensive outfielder to do when the entire game finds him? Sanchez hit a sharp single into left. Hicks scored easily. Ellsbury came around third as Marisnick charged. Marisnick didn't rush. He gathered the ball, transferred cleanly, and fired home on the fly. McCann caught it in the baseline, and tagged Ellsbury out before Ellsbury's hand touched the plate. Game over. Astros 3, Yankees 2. Yeah. Marisnick said afterward the key was taking his time. The ball was hit hard enough for him to charge it cleanly. Then stopped long enough to make sure McCann had completed the tag. Hinch said he felt confident as soon as the ball went into left because Marisnick was playing in, and he had the arm to finish the play. McCann talked about how much pride Marisnick took in his defense and how often he worked on it, even on days when he didn't start. Yankees manager Joe Girardi defended the decision to send Ellsbury. With 2 outs in the tying run, New York had to force Houston to execute. Girardi's point was simple. It took a perfect throw, and that's exactly what Houston got. Marisnick went 1 for 1, stole a base, and recorded the final out from 250 feet away. Technically, he was a substitute, but he became the central character. The win moved Houston to 24-11, the best record in the majors, and a franchise best start. The Astros took 3 of 4 in the Bronx and kept celebrating. They finished 101-61, won the AL West by 21 games. New York finished 91-71. survived the wild card game and eliminated Cleveland. Then the Yankees met Houston again. The ALCS went 7 games. The home team won every game. That's the opposite of what happened with the Nationals. You remember that mess in 2019? Yeah. Houston took Game 6 and 7 at Minute Maid Park, shutting New York out 4-0 in the finale and advanced to the World Series. So this May game wasn't decisive, but it was a preview. Keuchel frustrated the Yankees. Houston's defense completed the final play. 2 excellent young teams kept pushing until one small edge decided everything. And how many games reveal their future before anybody watching knows enough to recognize it? Marisnick's 2017 became the best offensive year of his career. In 106 games, he had 16 home runs and posted an .815 OPS, producing unusual power from the 9-hole. Then on September 13th, he fractured his right thumb sliding into second base. Surgery ended his season, and he missed Houston's postseason run. He still received a championship ring, but he had to watch the biggest games in franchise history from the bench. Marisnick remained an elite defender. In 2018, StatCast credited him with 12 outs above average. In 2019, he made 1 error in center and appeared in 14 postseason games as Houston returned to the World Series. And that season also brought the hardest moment of his career. Marisnick collided violently with Angels catcher Jonathan Lucroy at home. Lucroy suffered a concussion and a broken nose, and MLB suspended Marisnick for 2 games. Marisnick said he hadn't intended to injure him and expressed remorse, but the play followed him around. After 2019, Houston traded him to the Mets. He moved through the Cubs and Padres before joining Pittsburgh. In 2023, he appeared for the White Sox, Tigers, and Dodgers. He spent 2024 with the Angels minor league system, then signed with Atlanta for 2025. The Braves released him from AAA in April last year, and Marisnick hasn't officially announced his retirement. So across 11 major league seasons, Marisnick's collected 469 hits, 65 home runs, and stole 81 bases. His career batting average is .228. Those numbers can explain why he never became the everyday star that scouts once envisioned. But they don't explain the whole player. Sometimes a career is one jump, one route, one throw that lands exactly where it has to land. Next, we move from a 9-inning game in the Bronx to a hockey game that apparently didn't want to end at all. Blue 23, Alexander Steen, April 17, 2014. The Blues entered the playoffs on a 6-game losing streak and opened against the defending Stanley Cup champion, Chicago Blackhawks. Chicago led 3-2 for most of the night, but Jaden Schwartz tied it with 1 minute and 45 seconds left in regulation. Then they played one overtime. Then they played another overtime. In the third overtime, 26 seconds, Steen beat Corey Crawford to end the longest game in Blues history after 100 minutes and 26 seconds of hockey. How much hockey is too much hockey? And sometimes it's one more shift. So Jake Marisnick didn't start this game, and he didn't drive in a run. He just entered when Houston needed its best possible defense. He got one opportunity and made the throw perfect. That's Astro 72. I'm Kevin.